Sup is Halfrican-Jones here, and today, since you can tell that I'm not currently working on my Dragon Age video and my DEI versus inclusivity video, especially the Forever Narrative Disease video, all three of these, I am trying to make sure that the scripts are at their absolute best. I do not want to screw up the main points that I want to be making in those videos. I'm in the room again. I am speaking off the cuff because once again, another YouTuber that I looked up to has decided to become an absolute hypocrite or has crossed the line. Now, let me just state something real quick so that it is completely fair, and that I don't, that I'm not speaking from hypocrisy on this, especially because I want to be completely honest about the severity of what we're talking about, and I want to also be honest about my own history with this medium. So, full disclosure, I am a manga and anime enjoyer, on and off, because back then, when I was 16, 17, I was deeply rooted into, getting into new anime, thanks to my friends showing me Naruto and One Piece. However, I just kind of fell out of love before both series have finished. By the way, Oda, I wish you luck, and I wish you well on your health. Please do not put the series before your health. Please get better. So it was around 19 years old, I believe, that I stopped paying attention to most manga and anime except for Berserk. I've been collecting the deluxe editions since they've been shipping those, currently on volume 12. And I recently rediscovered my love for manga. I wanted to get more into the industry. I ended up discovering a lot of Tatsuki Fujimoto's works. I ended up discovering 5 centimeters per second, the manga edition. I fully recommend that you check that out over the movie. I also believe that you should check out the manga series Heavenly Delusion. It is a very, very good use of post-apocalyptic and kind of some structure that's taken from young adult Western novels, if you were ever into the Hunger Games or the Maze Runner. I believe if you're fans of those, you would definitely fall in love with Heavenly Delusion. I am currently writing 2 scripts for indie manga that I'm hiring artists for in the future, but that's all besides the point. The reason why that I wanted to bring up why this medium is important to me is because we do need to be aware of the mistakes of this medium's past and its normalized degenerate behavior in certain corners of the fandom and industry. And while I do not want to shame every single NSFW artist under the sun, I really don't. One particular NSFW artist that should be demonized because of a specific couple of actions that they have done, and it is very, very fair to demonize this person, Shadman. For those of you, let's be real. A lot of you already know the history of Shadman. If you don't, you can check out the Turkey Tom video over on his channel. He basically did an entire breakdown of Shadman's history, and he made a secondary follow-up video considering what happened to Shadman after the expose. Shadman was basically not only drawing loli and Shota art, which I do believe is the only exception of what should be censored in the medium. I really do. Again, not anything of slight suggestive content like Sailor Moon or Dawn to Dawn, but something where it is extremely pornographic and, unfortunately, if it is an actual child being depicted, I don't agree with it. I disavow it. However, we cannot ignore that a lot of the medium was normalized to the point a lot of content creators back then did defend Shadman. But however, I think it's fair to say that Shadman is not worthy of defense. I mean, the dude literally... Now again, I'm going to state this for the sake of me not being a hypocrite and me staying honest with you. When I was 16, 17, when I was starting to get into the medium, it also unfortunately was around the same time, at least a year or so before, that I was getting into doujins. And unfortunately, one of those dojins happened to be Ruby based, if you know anything about the show Ruby. And little did I find out years later that that dojin was made by Shadman. And to say that really shook me to my core, made me question, like who I am morally. It was just fucked up. It's absolutely fucked up. And like I said, like when you're a teenager, when you're not given like a lot of information about how to surf the internet, especially when you had to figure a lot of things out on your own, like I did, you don't know like how bad the consequences of looking at that stuff is. And you especially don't know like how bad NSFW addiction can become. Something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about is how they struggle with porn addiction. I mean, I had to go to therapy to overcome it. I ended up having to, put myself through the ringer for the sake of me being able to maintain a healthy relationship with a partner, or especially me not wanting to be a hypocrite with friends of mine who were abused. So because of me knowing a lot more now, it's made me more disgusted with Shadman in the future, especially after, finding out in 2016 when he made art of not only Daphne Keane, the actress, Lieutenant Corbett's, and again, the third one was, I don't have any information if there was any pornographic material, but Keemstar's daughter. Like, when you find this out, and when you're a teenager, you're about to become an adult, like, I was literally 17, like, when all this went down. And finding all this out, it shook me. It shook what I knew about what was appropriate or not about sexual freedom. It shook what I knew about who and who not to trust on the internet. And I didn't know how to help myself except go to therapy. So yeah, I'm going to say it like a lot of YouTubers won't. I ended up consuming a dojin made by Shadman when I was a teenager. And you know what? I'm willing to take the L. I am absolutely willing to take the L. Because to see how many people are running and hiding from the fact that they have engaged in that content, anything where it dealt with underage characters, it sucks, because it's like, how can you trust someone that's not willing to be honest about that? How? And I don't even want to ask you guys to trust me either, because this is a very, very heavy subject to be talking about here, which is why we're going to segue into why, me being honest is important about this. Mutahar, Some Ordinary Gamers, a channel that I've been following, I want to say since around 2016, I believe. Whenever Metal Gear Survive came out, that whole controversy, that fucking terrible ass game, I remember discovering Mutahar from that video. Therefore, I ended up finding out about his haunted gaming videos, his deep web browsing videos. Basically him, had it not been for him, I wouldn't have known about how complex internet security is, or the lack of internet security. There is, like, how much of my personal information is out there, the varying options of PC software such as Linux, and all the virtual machines that he got to build. Like, he basically inspired a lot of my passion for veering into the tech side of the YouTube space, especially I enjoyed a lot of his takes regarding gaming, and I definitely appreciated a lot of his expose videos on internet scam artists, such as The Completionist, who I also used to look up to until the dreadful day where we found out about his charity scam that disgraced his mother. But you know what? That's all besides the point. We're going to stick with Mutahar on this subject. I've been tangenting long enough, and I've been confessing long enough. some time ago, Mutahar and Oompaville, Nux Taku, they all three of them got together for Mutahar's new podcast, the Some Ordinary Podcast, in the name of his YouTube channel, Some Ordinary Gamers. This was how I ended up discovering Oompaville and Nux Taku, and I tried getting into both of their channels. With Oompaville, he just kind of seemed, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a hater. I don't know. But Oompaville just never seemed interesting. He just seemed like another cheap copy of Drew Gooden and, wait a minute. Who are the brothers again? Who's the other guy who did the Apple Vision Pro video? Damn it. I need to... Burback, that's right. Okay, yeah, I recommend those two over Oompaville. Oompaville just seems as if he's kind of like a generic version of them. But that's just me. I don't know. I understand Oompaville has his fans, and more power to them. I'm not a hater of him. I'm just going to call out his hypocrisy as well. But then I ended up looking Nux's main channel, but the one video that I saw was a tier list where he and two other creators were tier listing Pokemon NSFW content, and I just was like, oh, is this just your main content? Like, it's just porn? That's it? Like, I'm out. That's all that I knew about his main channel. But I looked into his stuff with Nuxanor, like his reaction video channel, and where he would just cover, like, modern takes, and I was like, okay, you know what? I can buy this. You seem like a all right guy. I'm willing to listen to your take. You know, you seem very energetic. I can deal with that. Then we move on to the Ava Chris Tyson expose, where it was discovered that Ava Chris Tyson was one of the partnered creators of Mr. Beast. Again, I am not a Mr. Beast main. I do not know enough about the Mr. Beast lore. There are plenty of other channels that you can do for research on both Mr. Beast and Ava Chris Tyson. Again, I don't know how innocent Mr. Beast is in the whole situation, but it's pretty likely that a lot of the claims that he was involved with Ava's degenerate behavior, there isn't anything to suggest a concrete connection there yet. And I am willing to bet that Jimmy's only crime is just being completely negligent about the business side of his ventures. But Ava Chris Tyson was caught creating a NSFW Discord that was full of loli and Shota art, and a heavy emphasis on Shadman specifically. Like, again, these are creators that were supposed to be involved with kids' content. And then to find out that the people in this Discord server were minors. Suspicious. Again, you can look up more details about this on the several exposés on Ava Chris Tyson. And she lost her career for obvious reasons. And, you know, hopefully is cowering in fear because, again, I don't want to shame people who get into NSFW content. But when you are sharing that content with minors, and if you are promoting content that literally sexualizes minors, sharing it to minors, that has to be steps of grooming. I don't understand how it can't be. So, of course, Mutahar and the members of the Some Ordinary Podcast decided to chime in. They wanted to do exposés of it themselves. And Nux Taku, the person in question who is the connection to all this, Nux Taku wanted to make a whole reaction to this on his secondary Nuxanor channel. And he basically tried to state that, you know, anything that Shadman was involved in due to the fact that Shadman used imagery of real children is that Shadman was disgraced and should be disavowed.
However, there's a very sketchy personality involved in the story, also known as Shadman.
Oh,
it's the Shadman stuff. Okay, so I knew it was lolly stuff. Okay, so Shadman takes lolly shit to another level. So Shadman is a Nazi-ish, pedophile-ish fellow, okay? Not actually been necessarily, as far as I know, accused of shit. I know that there have been criminal stuff that's going on here, but Shadman didn't just draw lolly porn. Shadman drew lolly porn of real-life people. Like, Keemstar's 10-year-old daughter got drawn by this guy in sexual art. And that is fucked up. That is insanely fucked up. Holy shit. Now, Keemstar is my best friend, which is why I'm extra mortified about all of this.
Really, nigga?
But this is crazy. I'm pretty sure Shadman was arrested at some point, too. Like, this is fucking crazy. Oh, God, I don't want to know how Chris was associated with this guy.
But then we fast forward in time to the Cope and Seethe Twitter account. Oh, my God. The amount of scrolling that poor man had to do to collect this Epstein list level of, well, it's the Epstein list, but for YouTubers, like YouTubers who collaborated or financed or promoted Shadman. And Nux Taku was one of the people on this list. Because of this, Nux Taku, of course, rightfully under fire. People found the tweets where him and Shadman were trying to collaborate. And Nux's excuse was that he was going to basically put Shadman in an uncomfortable spot via trolling like he tried to do with Comedy Shorts Gamer. But the thing is that Nux didn't really troll and expose Comedy Shorts Gamer while trying to make him uncomfortable with NSFW content. No, he showed very degenerate NSFW and like Dojin hentai content to Comedy Shorts Gamer for the sake of both of them promoting their channels. That was not trolling, and that was not exposing. So to say that he was gonna do that for Shadman, I don't believe him. Obviously, he planned to have a positive connotation-based collaboration between the two. And because of this, Mutahar was on damage control. This is how I ended up discovering the streamer Chud Logic, because when Nux was under fire and when people were trying to get answers out of Mutahar and Oompaville if the Some Ordinary podcast was under threat because of this expose, Mutahar, in an interview with Chud Logic, basically caved and claimed that, well, you know what? No, I'm just going to play the clip from Nick Andros here real quick. By the way, you should check out his video.
We're not doing the podcast anymore. It's done.
Why?
We're supposed to film on Tuesday. Well, there's a couple reasons for it. A lot of that was obviously some of the Shad stuff too, because we were kind of sitting there, we're like, me and Caleb, we were just like, this is, I don't know, it's weird.
So there you have it. Muta claims that Oompa, him, and Nux were going to end the podcast before the final episode. Whether or not the final episode was actually planned like this is hard to say, because I do know the context that Oompaville had trouble being on for every week of the podcast due to his own personal businesses that he had to manage outside of the podcast. However, I am willing to bet that this statement made by Mutahar was a complete lie from beginning to end, and that they had to improvise the final episode for the sake of appearances. Because while he said to Chud Logic that they were canceling it pre-last episode, no, instead, not even a week later, Mutahar comes back claiming on Nux's channel that, you know, the podcast is still on schedule to have its final episode, and that the reason why Nux and them are separating is not because of the Shadman connection.
Hey everybody, Muta here, and I just wanted to make it as clear as possible. This podcast is not over because of Nux and his situation currently. Ladies and gentlemen, a couple days ago at this point, I was on a podcast, or not a podcast, but I was on a live stream with a creator known as Chud Logic, And I wasn't exactly clear as to the ending of the podcast, which really is an ending. Let me be more clear with you.
He does say that maybe he wasn't exactly clear on the stream, but to the people who won't bother to check if he's telling the truth, this looks like a frustrated YouTuber trying to correct misinformation spread by some cloud chaser who twisted his words to score a big story. Mutahar has the bigger platform and knows that most people will uncritically believe him. The contradiction between Mutahar's statements on Chad's stream and on Nux's video is noticed by many, including Mutahar's friend, Turkey Tom.
The most blatant fucking and obvious lie of the century. And then I watched the entirety of the final episode of the Some Ordinary podcast, and the beginning section where they try to basically wash away any like notion of suspicion on Nux, and how they just try to move on and talk about all the other topics of the week. It just made a very bad. It just gave me a very bad feeling. And it just made me start to think about, like all the hard work that I had to do and everybody that I talked to in my personal life about how I had to overcome NSFW addiction. It just made me start to resent the guys because I had to put in work to actually even be sure that I had friends and family to, be able to talk to and depend on. I had to put in the hard work, to be honest. And these guys didn't. No, instead, Mutahar cared about his appearances. He cared about looking honest. He cared about looking like the good guy. He only cared about looking like he cared about kids. It just fucking sucks. So yeah, without a doubt, I ended up just unsubscribing and not trying to bother with Mutahar's content. And I just moved on from there, especially when I watched the follow-up video from Chud Logic where he noticed how much he was thrown under the bus, basically because Mutahar told him a complete fucking lie.
We haven't done like a full background to look onto what his content is or anything. Obviously, I was on a few collaborations with him when he was doing like fucking memes and like the game shows with like 15 fucking creators. And that's pretty much the extent of my collaborations.
You probably shouldn't be showing, porn like that on a website where, I know it's censored or whatever, but even censored stuff, like you probably shouldn't be showing that consistently to a website full of minors in the context of like, haha, funny joke, and then, who knows what they get into as a result of that. That's basically my takeaway.
Wait, you showed porn in those videos?
I mean, Nux's whole thing on YouTube is like porn reactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, based on what he's said, he never made any extensive background checks on Nux Taku's content or past. He did not know Nux Taku used pornographic materials in his content, and it should be noted that he said this right after Turkey Tom specified that such material was censored, and obviously not fully in view. During the initial conversation with Chad, from which the entire drama saga started, he characterizes his relationship to Nux as much more distant than the one he has with Caleb, also known as Oompaville, the third host of his podcast, and said that they spoke about Nux's recently revealed Shadman connections and thought it was weird. He also claims to only have made meme collabs with him and has been on game shows with 15 other creators. We won't be exploring those game shows in this video, but this is what one of the thumbnails for them looks like. I just thought it was neat.
And I felt like I was taking crazy pills. Chud Logic didn't even know how to fully respond except for, stating the truth that he was lied to and not try to bother making a whole witch hunt about it. I don't blame him because, there was enough reason for people to fear that, being under fire by Muta and, at the time of Muta's popularity, that it could have, you know, like destroyed Chud's career if people... Hopefully you guys didn't hear that. That was my stomach just there. Sorry about that. Chud didn't want to ruin his career. He didn't want to speak lies, but at the same time, he didn't want to start a witch hunt against Muta because not a lot of people were in the know except for Turkey Tom, Chud, and probably a few others that I'm not sure of. We fast forward possibly, I believe, a month or two later to where Nicandros, the video clip that I just showed you from, he managed to gather every single bit of information regarding how Mutahar, Oompaville, Charlie from Moist Critical, and several other creators were completely fine with Nux exposing them to absolute degenerate, like, incest and lolly and shota content. Blurred, censored, but again, the fact that he was able to get around the censors to market the videos to kids, as Nick Andros put it, it's fucking despicable. And not to mention, it's just stupid and fucking infuriating that Muta and Oompa were not willing to admit this. That they were not willing to admit how they were involved in Nux's main channel content. And again, I feel like a fucking idiot because I was too ignorant to even do research on Nux in the first place because I didn't want to bother with his main channel. But to know that it was that extent of Coomerism, wow. Just wow.
Why the hell was Mutahar associating with such an obviously scummy, dishonest, unprincipled guy for so long? Why was he throwing smaller creators under the bus for him? Why hasn't he publicly disavowed him like he has done to much less scummy people? Chud reacted to Harmful's video on August 9th. This resulted in such an eventful day that I cannot possibly justify cutting as much as I would have to in order to fit it into this video.
I'm getting grilled.
Now we fast forward to where plenty more people have finally figured out the lies of Muta, the whitewashing of history that him and Oompaville had between him and Nux. And I find out, without even I didn't even know that Muta even made this video. The post-Nux Clarity video, I haven't watched it, and I don't even know if I'm able to find a re-upload. No, I'm pretty sure there actually is a re-upload, but I haven't watched it yet. But the fact that he was willing to throw Nux under the bus, like almost a couple months later, because Nick Andros called him and Oompa out on their shit. And then to see that Muta makes this desperate as fuck YouTube post, like a YouTube community post, which he doesn't normally fucking do, by the way. He was willing to have his entire apology in a written post and claim that he is not going to do drama content anymore because as a reaction to this. No, here's the thing, Muta. Getting rid of drama content on your channel is not going to fix the problem. The problem is that you lied and that you were not willing to publicly, on a video, state that you didn't tell the truth and that you're sorry. You could have just taken the L, like you said, you could have taken the L and moved on.
I think if you're in that camp, if you ever interacted with Shadman, just completely own up to it once, take the fucking L and move on, but that's just weird. I mean, there's no reason to really hide it unless, like, the interaction was more deeper than it was initially let on.
Really, nigga?
That's all you had to do. That's all you had to do. Because you know what I did that you'd had no guts to do? I took the L for admitting how bad my fucking addiction was years ago. I'm not a saint, but for God's sake, like, I'm sick and tired of seeing all the lies and the fucking posturing. It's just, this is like you gave into celebrity culture. It doesn't matter that you did things outside of YouTube to make sure that YouTube was not your main source of revenue. You still cared enough about your public image online that you were willing to You were willing to spread misinformation. And you were willing to almost throw Chud Logic under the bus, which you did apologize for, but still, fucking stupid. Once again, I have no idea, like, how to... I just have no idea, like, why this keeps happening. Why do I keep finding creators that inspired me to keep doing this channel, and why do they keep fucking up like this? Am I at risk of fucking up like this? Is that how bad this is? I hope not. There's a reason why I don't upload every day. There's a reason why I don't upload every week. I have a personal life. I have friends and family that I gotta look out for. I have a fucking kid that I gotta look out for. So yeah, it's just fucking sad. And, you know, everybody has the right to call me, like, out on my shit. And everybody has the right to say that, I'm no better because of how I acted when I was 17. I get it. But you know what? Somebody's got to be fucking honest. This is me, Halfrican-Jones, and I'm going to see you guys again in one of my few essays or another rant video. We'll see what happens next. Peace.